Virtual summits are the most powerful online marketing tool available to grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and create an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. If you are ready to take your summit to the next level, then tune into the Virtual Summit Podcast with Dr. Mark T. Wade.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software and creator of the One Day Summit Formula. And I'm on a mission to help you, the summit host, get your summit out to the world in a powerful and impactful way. So let's get started. And for today's episode, we have something pretty special lined up for you. We are going to give you a sneak peek at one of our Summit Talks sessions. That's right. We have our Summit Talks Summit going live, and I want to give you a sneak peek at it. So you're going to get the audio version of this episode, but what I want you to do is make sure you head over to summittalks.online to get access to all of the amazing Summit Talk sessions and video sessions waiting for you over there. So in the meantime, enjoy this audio version of another amazing Summit Talks. From inspiration to launch in 2 weeks, our next guest held the first ever online summit in her industry. Want to build an engaged community, get notes of gratitude pouring in, open doors to speak at other virtual conferences? Well, if you want to use your summit to become the trusted brand in your niche, then this session is for you. Hey, Summit hosts, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software, CEO of Viral Summits, and your host here on Summit Talks, the largest, most impactful virtual summit for summit hosts. Now, we are in for a treat with this session. We have legendary Ali Stoffels with us. She is the founder of Recreational Gymnastic Professionals, or Rec Gym Pros. Ali had 4,000 registrations for the virtual summit and 10,000 followers on Facebook and Instagram in just 12 days. Despite being a one-woman show and just a side gig, Ali has become the expert in her niche and has built a thriving online space for her community that didn't exist before and is now shaping the future for recreational gymnastics. Grab your pen, grab your paper. We're going to have some fun on this one. Ali, thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me. That was the best intro I've ever had when you put it that way.
I am very happy to hear that and very excited to dive into this. Your story is incredible. Your summit story is incredible. What you were able to build and how you're impacting the world in your niche and industry is phenomenal. Now, we are going to totally nerd out over all that summit goodness. But before we do, I'd love you to tell our summit host just a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So, the Rec Gym Pros comes from it's a gymnastics thing, obviously. So I'll kind of start there. But I grew up in a smallish town. I did gymnastics as a kid. I was never like cream of the crop, but I did okay. I competed all the way through high school at kind of a medium level, but I loved just gymnastics in general. And I became a coach very young. I was I think 13, 14 when I started coaching, and it was the next logical thing for me. I took a shine to it. I really enjoyed it. Loved the kids. I've always been really creative. I get bored quickly. So very early on, my boss recognized that despite my ambition to go on to coach competitive level gymnastics, she was like, you're staying with those little kids because you can make them smile and have a good time and make sure it's fun for them. So I started that route. So that was my life pretty much growing up. It was like at the gym club. And then I went away to university and thought I was going to be done with gymnastics. Did a bunch of summer camp gigs. So had the show, because summer camp is basically theater for 2 months long. And so got some really good tips and tricks from there, but then found my way back to gymnastics and ended up as a rec director at a really, really small gym in Northern Ontario, Canada. And really started to get a handle of the managerial side of things and the behind the scenes stuff. So, and then that's where this all came in. So Rec Gym Pros kind of came from that. I realized that I didn't have support networks, and so I decided to build them myself, more or less. That's the story anyway, the gist of it.
Virtual Summits software makes hosting a summit easier than ever. The only software in the world designed specifically for hosting a summit lets you set up a summit in a matter of hours with no tech skill or team needed. You can try out the Virtual Summits software free at virtualsummits.com. But hurry, this is a limited offer.
That is innovation right there. That is creation. You know, and they say necessity breeds innovation and creation, and that's what you did. And now you went from that to essentially kind of leading this industry and this community, building a community for others who were like you, looking for that kind of network and that connection, which to me is just an amazing thing. I think it's one of the most powerful aspects of a virtual summit. One we don't talk about enough. We always talk about leads and profit because those are fun, but the community and the difference you're making in the world is incredible. So let's talk about it. We want to jump into this summit. So it wasn't the easiest. It wasn't challenge free. Of course, it wasn't, the perfectly done. There was amazing success and there was things that had to happen last minute, as is it with most virtual summits. So let's start with the overview. Tell us about what was it called? What was the purpose of it? Help us understand what it was.
So it was technically called the Rec Gym Pros Virtual Summit for Recreational and Preschool Coaches. So really obvious, really direct. But it was the only one that's out there for this, so it was perfect. And I really wanted to make sure it was targeted for preschool and recreational because there's a lot of resources out there for high-level gymnastics coaches, but not a whole lot for the front line, like working with the little ones. And there's a lot of turnover in that staff typically, so there's not a whole lot of time and money invested in these particular coaches. So I knew that this could be somewhere to go. So we did a 2-day summit. We had 4 sessions each day. They were about an hour and a half each. We had the speakers, if I'm being totally honest, were mostly my friends because it was very last minute. As you said, it was a quick turnaround, less than 2 weeks from when we decided we were going to do it and when we went live. And so I called on some reliable folks that I know who would be able to pull something awesome together really quickly. So that was great. Had a lot of support from them. We just cranked it out. So it was 2 long days, it felt like. And at the end of it, though, totally worth it.
So let me dive in here. We're gonna circle back to how you were able to do this in 2 weeks. But for the moment, you said hour to hour and a half long sessions. Were these pre-recorded or live?
Pre-recorded, and then a live Q&A component. So the pre-recorded was typically anywhere between half an hour to 45 minutes. A couple of, I think, mine went overtime. Mine was an hour, and then we had like 20 minutes to 40 minutes of Q&A live via Skype with the speaker themselves, so the audience could interact with us that way. We did it on Facebook Live, so everyone was familiar with the platform, so they just were typing in their questions, sending their likes and hearts and all that kind of thing.
I love that. And I want to dive into that here momentarily, but I also want to iterate, like a lot of summit hosts are like, oh, I need the fanciest, most complex thing. And I see a lot of summit hosts do that. Some of my friends in big SaaS companies have tried to make it as fancy as possible. And the more fancy, the more complex, the more opportunity for problems and issues. The second aspect to that is if you're introducing a new platform to your audience and they don't understand the platform, you actually have to build in educational components just to teach them how to consume it. So if your audience already understands Facebook Live, go where they already understand it. They know it, they're familiar with it, they can figure it out. Or if you're going to use a different type of platform, like now Zoom, a lot of people understand and know Zoom, but previously you had to have some educational components for most people to understand how to use Zoom. So just keep that in mind when you're actually planning out your summit there. Now, let's circle back. Let's actually dig into that. So you use Facebook Live. You mentioned Skype. Kind of talk us through the structure of this. Where would they go? And then how did they consume it?
Where did
how did they sign up for the summit? And then after they signed up, kind of talk us through the process. I sign up, then what do I see? And then how do I actually consume and get access to the summit?
So I shared a link to a landing page on my social media, my website, my mailing list, which was much smaller at the time, and then asked my network just to share it. I had some connections with like local or provincial governing bodies of gymnastics, so they were awesome in spreading the word out as well. It was almost immediately after the pandemic started. So everyone was looking desperate for ways to support their people, and they were willing to share my stuff. So that timing was perfect. They would share this link to my landing page. Once they did that, we had it automated through, I use MailerLite. So we just had it set up so that they were automatically sent a link to the Facebook group. And to be honest, it's a private group, and so we had to accept everybody. I just accepted everyone. Like, if their friends sent them the link, then sure, come on in, because we offered it for free. It wasn't a paid event anyway. The whole point behind the landing page was I just wanted their emails, and if I missed a few, I wasn't really heartbroken about it. It was I'll try and grab them later in the process. And then so I had their mailing list, and we sent out the schedule a couple days before, and a reminder the day of both days, and then a wrap-up email and links to where to find the videos after we took them off Facebook Live, off the Facebook group rather.
So in the Facebook group, you would go live with the speaker. So you would both be on it, or would the speaker just go live and then do a teaching session? Was it presentation based or interview based?
So I would come on and welcome everyone back to the show, and then we would cut to the pre-recorded bit, and then while that was playing, we'd get the speaker on Skype in the background, and then once their pre-recording ended, we would come on live in an interview session. So we were split screening, two of us talking to each other on there.
So how did you display the pre-recorded video into the Facebook group?
I'm not the person to ask about that. I had a tech guy who was amazing, Kurt Jackson. He was awesome. He's run a bunch of summer camp sessions, and he organized the tech behind, but he worked the magic behind the scenes. So fortunately, I can't really answer that question other than to ask Kurt.
What was his name? We'll give him a quick shout out.
Perfect. Kurt Jackson from
Kurt Jackson, you rock, brother.
Yeah, he's the best.
So there are tools like Streamyard. You can actually, even with YouTube, stream it into a variety of different places. And Zoom also has functionality to stream into different, like Facebook, YouTube, etc. In case anybody's like, well, how do I stream those in? Those are 3 platforms you could use. Now let's circle back, Allie, into the fact that you said you did this in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. How many speakers did you say you had?
There were 7 plus me. So
8 speakers, 2 weeks, 4,000 people participated, 12,000 people onto a fair, 10,000, 12,000 people onto Facebook and Instagram. So how did you do this in 2 weeks? Take us back to day one and tell us about how that happened.
I don't think it's fair to start day one. I think what's worth saying is that, so my friend Kurt and I had discussed this as a possibility about a year prior. But we tabled it because our lives got busy and other things came up. So it's not like we were starting complete from scratch, but we had totally dropped it. We hadn't talked about it in months. And then all the gymnastics clubs, and they all got shut down because of COVID-19. And everyone was sitting at home. And I probably spent 2 days of yoga, going for walks, trying to be fine with not doing anything, but I'm not good at doing nothing. And I woke up, and I think it was a Monday morning, and I was like, we got to do, maybe it was Sunday night actually, before I went to sleep. I was like, we could do it. And at that point, we actually thought that the closures were only going to last 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. We had no idea. We were so naive. And so we were like, well, okay. And I said, okay, well, if we're going to do it, we got to do it fast, because we're going to get back to work in 3 weeks. So we got to do it in 2 weeks, So I contacted my friend Kurt. We quickly tossed it all together. The good thing, obviously, is that my job was shut down, so I wasn't really working much at my actual job. So I had the full day to a lot of time to dedicate to it. But yeah, just quickly made a landing page, put it out there, put some calls out to my friends, and because I don't know, I didn't know how to recruit people I didn't know. Although there were a couple of folks that I hadn't met before that I had heard good things about as speakers, and I did reach out to them. And gratefully, they were quick to jump on board, including an Olympic champion, which was a winning moment for me. That was really cool. Kyle Schufelt, he won a gold medal at the Olympics, and he agreed to come on and do a Q&A for us, just and ask me anything, and that was such a win. And so I had a couple contacts from previous sponsorships, and so I reached out to them to say, hey, I'm doing this thing, and they were awesome to be able to help me out. And yeah, it was a whirlwind. I don't honestly, like, looking back, I don't know how we did it. It was
You
very
just
fast.
woke up and it's like, whoa, what just happened? Like that just happened. So
Kurt and I would check in every couple of days and be like, are we doing this? Are we going to be able to pull this off? And they were like, well, we better. Like, we have all these people signed up. We have no choice now. Like, it's going to be what it's going to be.
excellent. Well, I kind of want to take one little like side step over for a moment and talk about, like, this is a side hustle, as you've said. Like, this is not your main gig. You're working, you're helping people there at your actual, job. And you have this passion on the side. We have a lot of our summit hosts listening right now. They haven't started the side hustle, or they're just getting that side hustle going, and they're considering a virtual summit as maybe a potential opportunity to help get that going further. What's kind of your thoughts on that for them? Is this a good idea? Would you recommend it? What's, like, maybe some words of wisdom for any other side hustlers out there with this thought and idea in their head?
Yeah, I think, I work 40 hours a week, and so I have limited reserves for what I do outside of it. Thankfully, what I do with Rick Jim Pros is still related to my job, so there's a little bit of wiggle room. I think if you have a side hustle and you're passionate about it, you owe it to yourself to give it an honest go. I would say look into it, see what you have time for. It did take a lot of time, and I think depending on how you set up your summit, it was 2 full days of work, but it's something that when we were kind of imagining it in that year prior, I just assumed I would take a week off work and run it and just see how it goes. But I think you got to try it, or at least explore it and see. For me, I loved it. It was really fun. It was really rewarding for me. It felt, it felt worth it for me to put the energy and effort in. But I'm not going to lie about the amount of work it was, because it definitely was busy. That being said, hopefully you're not going to try and do it in 2 weeks, and you can spread this out over a length of time, and so it won't be as condensed. Go for it. Why not? It doesn't have to be complicated.
Be sure to check out the speaker management tool inside your virtual summit software, which lets you quickly and easily recruit and manage your speakers on your virtual summit, literally eliminating hundreds of hours of work. Get more information at virtualsummits.com.
For sure, they've got to try it. It is your hustle. It's your side hustle. Don't give up on that dream or passion. You can do this. And there's one of the quickest ways to go from side hustle to full hustle is with that virtual summit. I mean, small audience to 4,000 people now on there. I'm curious, Allie, have you started to monetize this audience in any way yet? Are you still working on that? And if you have, like, how has that been in light of side hustle to now?
Yeah. So, I mean, the summit itself provided a bit of income for us. So first we got a sponsorship from like a great company that is really directly related in our field. So they're an equipment supplier, so that was perfect. So we were able to generate some income from that, which I was pleased with in and of itself. And part of the deal with them is that we would leave the videos available for people to watch for a few weeks. So I think we said 3 or maybe 4 weeks. I can't quite remember. And then I took it all down, and then I re-uploaded it onto a membership site, so that if folks wanted to have lifetime access to these videos and some of the resources that come with it, then they can pay $99 to have lifetime access to the sessions. And so there's a handful of sessions on there. One of the speakers chose not to have theirs on there. That's one of the things that I would learn from this, is to be a bit more prepared with how I'm organizing and communicating with my speakers about what kind of happens after they speak. I would probably revamp that a little bit. So I did add a couple of my own sessions in to kind of compensate for losing that one. So there's a little bit of extra work that came afterwards, but the sales of that were probably not as good as they would have been if I did it immediately or if I shortened that session, that time period where we had them available for free. But we still had about 70 sales, and I'm like pretty happy with that. I got 5 and I was excited, and then we got more. So 70 isn't heaps and tons, but the cool thing is that for those people who bought that product are now going to be able to show these videos to their staff for as long as they want to. And there's a lot of really great content and helpful information in there, specifically catered to their people. And ideally, it's going to save the rec directors which is the job that I do in my real life. Organizing, I have 60 staff when there's not a pandemic working for me, and it's a lot of effort to train them. So it'll take a lot of that time and effort off of my hands to be able to just send them to a website.
Wow. You got my brain going over here. I'm like brainstorming for you. I'm like, you could start doing 1-day summit, educational components, 5 people teaching certain things. You can bring in other industries or niches into it to help the creative side of it. And, just release those like once a quarter or something. Like, you've got the potential for a major brand over here, Allie. So jump in there and keep doing it. You're crushing this. Let's circle back a little bit and talk about that community that you've built. So this community didn't exist. It wasn't there. Now that it's there, what was some of the feedback? How has that been? Like, what was some of the benefits that they talked about?
So I think it was really cool throughout the summit to see on the Facebook group everyone just interacting and asking each other questions, and then people just pitching in, and some of the speakers would sometimes respond to the questions that they had, and it might be big picture related to our job. It could be just nitty-gritty about how to handle a specific situation. So that's been really cool to see that community develop, and it's just been neat to kind of unite the recreational community, because part of why this all came together is that we're very isolated. We're on our little islands. We have no reason to go visit other gyms or see what other gyms are doing, because we're so busy here just running our own program. We don't go to competitions. We don't go to training camps. We don't go to all of these things where competitive coaches tend to gather. So we don't have those opportunities to share and learn. And so it's been very cool to like have speakers share their perspective. In the comments, people were sharing their perspective there as well. And so I'm really excited. I've been doing this kind of thing in real life and on a smaller scale. So it's very cool to kind of see it on a bigger scale, I guess, and to kind of, it was pretty overwhelming, like in the best way possible. After I was getting a lot of really great comments and people were really grateful. And it was so lovely to the point it was almost uncomfortable. Like I was like, oh, this is great. I was just
gonna say, how does it feel to be a celebrity in your niche now?
Oh God, I felt like a celebrity. There was a moment when I was interviewing Kyle Schufelt at the Olympian, and I saw my phone go off in the corner of my eye, and it was just exploding with my friends being like, I can't believe you're interviewing Kyle Schufelt. Because I followed his career. I'm a huge fan. So like I was like dying inside. I was so excited. I was so excited. It was a big moment. And my old gymnastics coach watched it and was like, that was just so like, oh, I can't believe, like it was like really cool that way to, I don't know. It was a really proud moment for me.
I'm glad you're sharing that and being so open with us. I've got goosebumps just thinking about it. And that is one of the powers and benefits of summits is you have an opportunity to reach out to mentors, to influencers, to people that you've always wanted to connect with or get to know. And that most of the time, they're not just going to let you pick their brain on a random day, but by using a summit to bring them together, to do something, a bigger impact, to help a community, to help a movement, whatever that is, it gives those opportunities. And that, I can feel the happiness and excitement coming through this from you, Allie. So that is great. Well, let's jump into our summit show and tell. I know our summit hosts are like, well, Mark, let's take a look at the summit. What does Allie have? So why don't you go ahead and share your screen and just kind of walk us through what you have there for summit show and tell.
Sure. Okay. So what I am showing is the membership that I launched afterwards for people to get access to the videos for a lifetime. So I do it on Member Vault, which is awesome. They are great. And you can actually have up to 100 members for free before you have to pay, which is sweet. I'm not even at 100 quite yet. So it's nice not to have to pay yet more money to have more people involved. So that's really great. So this is the All Access Pass. So what they would do is come on here, they would sign in, or they could pay for it, or if they want to explore it, it's all up on here. It kind of goes through what all the different training sessions they would have. So they're all very specific to gymnastics. So I'm sure for some of you out there who aren't familiar with gymnastics are like, okay, whatever. But so they take a look at this. You hook me up, and then it brings you to like you're ready. Oh, actually, I have it at 147. It was 99. Now it's 147. I forgot that I had done that. normally I have coupon codes all over the place. So, so that's up on there. And then, it's pretty easy to use once you get in. All the modules come up here on the right-hand side. So you just click the one you want and off you go. The video's embedded, you press play. And on the back end of it, it's kind of cool because I can see who's been watching what and how much they're actually engaging and who hasn't who paid the money and hasn't touched it. So I can then reach out to them, just say, hey, don't forget this is here, and hey, we also are putting a new one out. Down the road, that's the plan. So whenever I have something new, I'll let them know that it's available and they can check it out there. So this is where I've everything has landed.
Love it. That is so cool. And thank you for sharing that with us. It's always fun to see what our summit hosts have, and seeing that membership side of it was really cool. So let's kind of jump into a few more questions as we start to wrap up this session here, this talk, Allie. Let's kind of talk about the promotional side of this, because you had very limited amount of time to actually get this out, and you still had a major turnout for this. So what did you do that worked, and what would you recommend people do on a normal basis?
So the thing that worked really great for me, there's kind of a couple of things. I have a pretty decent social media following, so putting it out there was really great. There's a couple of really targeted Facebook groups for gymnastics coaches, owners, and managers. And once I got into there, it just spread like wildfire. People were sending it to people that they knew. I kept finding it popping up in weird places. So it ended up kind of organically making the rounds. I think I had a couple of things going for me. I think it was novel. It was pretty new. There's been a couple iterations of online conferences since, but this was the first one, and people were really jazzed and excited. There was a lot of buzz. So I just kind of capitalized that and just kept commenting when people were like, yeah, and I paid attention to people were asking questions so that I could log in and respond and funnel them to where they could get more information or how to contact me or to reach out personally and to hook them up that way. That was really helpful. And then I think I mentioned this, but also getting the provincial bodies under the wing, because they have an email list that is specifically for the people that we are trying to target. So and partnering with them a little bit and having them jump on board was pretty cool.
You got to reach out to them now and tell them that you'd be more than happy to present at their next conference and kind of put that out there.
Well, funny you should say that. I definitely am lined up to speak at a couple of their virtual conferences coming up. So
look at that. See the
it's been pretty cool.
That is amazing. Okay, so an idea I'm just going to throw at you, and I want this is important for all of our summit hosts listening in, is the saying is you can either be first or best. Either one of those is going to get you the most attention. If you can be first and best, that's always great too. But in this instance, as Allie, you've just mentioned, there's been other iterations popping up since. And this will happen once other people see your idea and see something you've done. They'll try to mimic it, or they'll do offshoots off of it. Here's the deal. You have the upper hand because you're the first in many of your scenarios or niches and industries. So immediately start planning the next one. Instead of getting shiny object syndrome, I'm going to raise my hand because I've done this many, many times. Plan that to be an annual summit. If you can usually, if you're doing your first one, you can immediately right after ask your speakers, say, hey, we're going to run this again next year, these dates. 70 to 80% will say yes right there. So you've automatically reduced the amount of work it's going to take to find the speakers, but also you keep establishing that brand in that summit, and it'll constantly stay above everybody else who's trying to do other things similar. So I would recommend, if you haven't already thought about it, Allie, that becomes an annual event. All of you that are going to do your first summit, just plan for it to be an annual event. It builds momentum each year. So thoughts on that, Allie?
It's in the works.
It's in the works. That's what I like to hear right there. All right. Well, a couple last questions I have. Since you were handling most of this on your own, you had some help with the tech side of things. I like to ask about the customer service side. As far as you were talking about, well, I would log in and I would respond to questions in this and get people into that direction. People probably sent emails with questions on how to do this or that. A lot of our summit hosts are in the same situation. They're solopreneurs, they're tackling this whole thing by themselves. And I really want them to be aware of what amount of work goes into it. So talk to us about the customer service side, the pros, the cons, and any kind of suggestions you would recommend.
Yeah, so the customer service side was pretty good. I think we had a number of people who struggled to get into the Facebook ahead of time, even though we told them they needed to get in there. That once we started, we weren't necessarily going to be able to approve them immediately if we were live, right? So we had a couple of people who were confused or weren't sure how to handle that. But once we got them into the group, they were okay.
With the Ever Summit feature inside the Virtual Summit software, you can rerun your summit as if it were live, ongoing forever with one click of a button. This now lets you continue to use your summit forever, bringing in qualified and engaged leads every month into your business. Get more information at virtualsummit.com.
One suggestion that had been given to me beforehand was to delegate a few people to be my chat ninjas so that they could help support if I was busy or I didn't quite get to it. They kind of had a better sense. Some of these were my speakers. I asked them to help me with that. Like I said, a lot of them are my friends. So I was like, oh, if you see a question I haven't got to, if you could just answer it or send them in the right direction, that could help. So I had some help that way. Afterwards, I had one boo-boo with somebody who bought a pass and didn't mean to, and that created a bit of a hullabaloo. And I had a phone call from somebody asking me, like, I didn't pay for this. Who are you? On my credit card. So a couple of like weird stuff like that. Those are kind of fluky. That was pretty easy. Just give them a refund and delete their name. Done. But just a couple of fluky things like that. But for the most part, it was small things but consistent, and a lot of emails like, "Are you there? Like, I can't see the video." Like, and mostly it was just people who didn't know how to use Facebook. So that was pretty quickly, and then often I would get a message back just saying like, "Oh, never mind, I figured it out." Great. Perfect.
Excellent. Yeah. And it is very common. I mean, with doing it in Facebook, I think is definitely can minimize some of that because you got the comments right there. People can easily see things. You can answer a lot of the questions. For those of you, striving for one of those mega summits, 10,000 leads or more, be ready. The customer service side of things is real, especially when you start to use other technology. People, again, if they're not familiar with it, you'll get those kind of emails too. Like, I can't see the video. It's like, well, you got to actually turn it on or press play or whatever, 90% of the time it's user error, I promise you, but you still have to help them with that user error. So just plan for that and prepare for that. That is a part of your Summit Live you'll need to be aware of. So, Allie, this has been phenomenal. Last question I have for you. What has been the biggest positive impact you've received from hosting this summit?
I think that's a great question. There's two. So personally, for me, it was a really great growth opportunity. I feel like my name is out there more than ever now, and that people are coming to me to ask for me to do things with their clubs or their organizations and this kind of thing. So that's really cool. From an entrepreneurial perspective, that served its purpose, and that feels really good. And that makes me feel happy to be able to do that. The impacts that I'm seeing that probably make me the most happy is just seeing this community come together and seeing people that I know didn't know each other before this. I may have known them or I've seen them around, and now I see that they're chit-chatting and they're having conversations in these groups, or they're coming on calls, and we have a little messenger group, and to be able to have this network of people that keeps kind of growing and growing and growing. And my friend and I joke that it's like the Rec Gym Pros army. Our little army is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're all really supportive, and we all try and lift each other up. And it's just been really cool to see that the shift in sharing and being really generous with everyone's lessons and learning that they can share amongst each other. So that's been really cool, just to know that I had a hand in that.
That is amazing. That is very cool. Super impactful. Again, Allie, phenomenal. Summit host, you're going to see all Allie's information here next to the video. Reach out to her, follow her on social. I'm sure she'd be more than happy to answer any questions you want to send her way. Also, Allie's been super generous to give us a special Summit Talks bonus, which you'll see right below this video. Allie, do you want to tell us a little bit about that free gift or bonus? And it's going to be right below this video. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Awesome. So I have included a PDF, a document that I've used for some workshops about crafting your legacy. And it is more or less a goal setting sheet and thinking about how you want to be remembered 10 years from now. by the people that you're impacting. So in the gymnastics world, that's the kids, that's the parents, that's your coworkers, the gym, the sport, the industry, this kind of thing. And then helping to figure out your why and what motivates you to kind of be that, what motivates you to leave that legacy, and what can keep you going on those days when it's a bit tough. And then a little bit of a stop, start, continue guided document to work through those, which is easy to edit for whatever field you're in.
Oh, amazing. Grab it. It's right here below this video. Don't wait. You'll forget. Come back and get it now. I'm big on legacy, so you're going to want to get that. You'll thank us later. Again, Allie, this has been phenomenal. I just want to thank you for sharing with us your time, your energy, and your wisdom today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
And thank you, Summit hosts, for hanging out with Allie and I. I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, your host here on Summit Talks. And remember, your message matters. And one of the most powerful ways to get that message out is with a virtual summit. Also, don't forget your Summit Super Pack, which includes your All Access Pass, my one-day Summit formula, and 6 months of the virtual Summit software, plus some very special bonuses from our partners, speakers, and sponsors. But it's not going to stay there forever, so grab it before it's gone, and I'll see you on the next session.
Thanks for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on the Virtual Summit podcast. Head over to the show notes to check out all the links and resources from this episode, and be sure to grab your free trial of the Virtual Summit software.
Now, I want to end this episode by saying to all the Summit hosts listening right now, I believe in you, and you can do this. Summits are by far one of the most powerful ways to quickly grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and most importantly, make an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. So don't get caught up in analysis paralysis, because the world needs to hear your message, and there are people who are waiting for you to help them. So just get started, because imperfect action is always better than no action. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.